Nehemiah chapter 1. Verse 1, we see where Nehemiah is. Verse 2, we see Nehemiah asking his brethren who came from Jerusalem the state of people who went back from captivity. Verse 3, they explain what happens. And in particular, Hanani says, there is great affliction and reproach. The walls of Jerusalem has been broken down and gates has been burned by fire. In response to that, Nehemiah, when he heard, it says he sat down, wept, mourned for certain days, fasted, and prayed before the God of heaven. Do we respond like that when we hear the difficulty and the affliction of God's people? And we see a very beautiful prayer in Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 5 to 11. There are multiple times in this book we see Nehemiah pray. And Nehemiah actually prayed for 4 months and fasted. And during that time, one of the prayer was quoted. If you learn this prayer, you can see how intimate is Nehemiah's relation with God. Verse 5, he talks about the greatness of God. He talks great and terrible God who keeps covenant. God, you are faithful. Verse 6, he talks that day and night he prayed. So prayer is a consistent habit and he consistently came. It's not like one time he prayed, he got the answer, he stopped. He didn't get the answer, he stopped. It's not that way. In verse 6, we see he's confessing not the people's sin. He didn't blame anyone. He's confessing his sins also. See, we get a floodlight put into our life when we really pray in a very humble fashion. Verse 8, he says that, okay, all these things, he didn't blame anyone, but he was telling it happened according to the word. Deuteronomy 28, verse 64 is what he's telling. In prayer, in our prayer, do we quote verses? He's telling this punishment came to us because of the way we lived. And then he says, Lord, there is again promises. In verse 9, he says, I claim the promise, Lord, that when we come back, you have promised to answer. You scatter us, but you bring us back. He's claiming the promise that God, you change his heart. Is our prayers filled with the word of God? Verse 9, he says, Lord, everything, he's testifying a beautiful testimony. He says, Lord, we have been redeemed by your great power. What we have is all what you have given. There's nothing what we have. Is all the good promises is from you. That's what Joshua said. And verse 11, why should God, you listen to us and deliver us from this pain? He's telling God. Beautifully, he says, Lord, be attentive to our prayers. And answer the servant's prayer. Why? Because we are people who desire to fear thy name. And he said, ends the saying that God grant him mercy in the sight of this man. This man is the king. And he did not take things into his hand. He was a cupbearer. In Persian kingdom, the home minister of the kingdom is the cupbearer. The king really trusted him. But he waited. In chapter 2, we see how the story changed. He took the first step by prayer, but God took the right step by making the king ask the right question. We will learn that tomorrow.